not only a region that is close to all of our hearts, but of course it is a region that is pioneering a number of very innovative approaches to marine management, many of which are coming from our colleagues at Merriman, Finland. So it is a real great pleasure for me to also be here with my colleague Pauli, and who is an active member in our collaboration. We have partner offices in each of the Baltic Sea coastal countries, and we are all working together to secure a healthy and sustainable Baltic Sea for the benefit of people and nature in the region. So it is really an honor to be here today to talk about this topic and to present to you some of the new findings from our report, setting course towards a sustainable blue economy in the Baltic Sea, all hands on deck. We also have the principles for a sustainable blue economy, which I will talk a little bit more about. And this is a timely topic indeed. Some of you were in Copenhagen in October, where DG Mare and the Baltic Development Forum were holding a conference on drivers for blue growth in the Baltic Sea region. And in this respect, I think Finland is very much in line to be a contributor and a real leader in this discussion. The roadmap, as I just heard it described through Matti, the very ambitious timetable you have set for yourselves, I think will feed very nicely into the master plan which is being developed by the Commission. And I think the good advice and incentive that are coming out of these discussions are very much needed. So we talk about the blue economy. We talk about here blue bioeconomy. It's talked about blue growth in Europe. Wherever we are in the world, in every nation with a coastline, there is, of course, a big discussion around this topic, and that is how can we grow this sector in areas such as tourism, shipping, offshore energy, seabed mining, and it's really a concept that is spreading, and of course, here in this region. And one of the ideas driving the blue economy concept is the notion that seas are places of untapped resources that can fuel economic potential and provide more jobs. And we know, of course, that today the oceans are already playing an enormous role in the global economy. In fact, the report that was done jointly by WWF and the Boston Consulting Group has put a conservative estimate of the economic value of coastal and oceanic environments to be $2.5 trillion each year, and the overall value of the oceans as an asset to be 10 times that. In other words, if the ocean was an economy, it would rank as the 7th biggest economy in the world already today. But of course, the idea of exploiting the oceans for economic potential and growth is not new. And in any forum where we are talking about blue economy, most observers would already know that these very same oceans and seas are already under tremendous pressure from our human activities. Something that has been made all the more apparent in a stream of new reports coming out of the state of our global oceans. The most sobering of which for me was our own Living Blue Planet report, which noted that in the course of my lifetime, nearly an average of half of the marine species of the world have plummeted by half in the past 40 years. With some species suffering far greater declines as a result of habitat loss, overfishing, rising sea temperatures due to climate change. So we have a very challenging situation before us. And of course for us in the Baltic region, this situation is all the more apparent. Because we know that the current actions to restore the sea to good environmental status are still not adequate to achieve this goal, despite our decades of cooperation and many concrete efforts. Our current blue economy is actually contributing to the undermining of our region's natural capital. But the biggest threat to our sea is from the current unsustainable economic activities on land, which is why any discussion of the blue economy needs to include a discussion of the green economy and of the circular economy, and to make sure that we have an interaction and an understanding of the synergies and interaction between the both. And while we know that eutrophication, for example, has devastating consequences for the Baltic Sea's biodiversity, we also know that this means that the Baltic Sea is seriously underperforming as an economic resource. And that means that we have not yet managed to build a strong foundation for a sustainable blue economy, which is why workshops like this one are so critical in order to begin to discuss ensure the integrity of the ecosystem services which we depend on, and at the same time create long-term prosperity. Of course, there is a growing recognition that a healthy blue economy in our region and any part of the world depends on a healthy sea. And we've heard, I think many of you are familiar with the statistics that came out of a Boston Consulting Group report again, that compare the difference between a healthy Baltic Sea and a not healthy Baltic Sea. And we know that if we are able to secure a healthy Baltic Sea, it can mean over 500,000 more jobs and 32 billion in annual value added till 2030. So this is a significant figure that we can have in our back pockets, and it's true for the rest of the sea-based economies that we're looking at. This is especially true for large economic sectors such as tourism and fisheries, and these two sectors provide by far the largest number of jobs in our region. These two sectors, which depend almost absolutely on a healthy sea, also account for a substantial part of the income generated by our region's current blue economy, but of course there are a number of other sectors which you will discuss today which are critical. Other sectors such as shipping and offshore wind do not depend so directly on a healthy Baltic Sea, but they certainly have an impact on the sea, and it is this interaction, these synergies that we must take into consideration. In all of the forums where blue economy is being discussed, nearly everyone from the EU, from the UN to the Economist magazine has come to the conclusion that any blue development must also be sustainable. Yet despite increasing use of this term and increasing high-level adoption of the concept in global policy making and investment, there still is no widely accepted definition of the term or guidance on what a sustainable blue economy or sustainable blue growth or a sustainable blue bioeconomy looks like in practice. The European Union does formally recognize the fact that economic prosperity depends on healthy ecosystems, and we hear a lot about the fact that blue growth should be sustainable. And the meaning of this has even been partly specified for some maritime and marine sectors such as zero waste and zero emissions for maritime transport and maximum sustainability for fishing. But for other sectors, the criteria for making them sustainable still needs to be articulated. And this is very important work in order to be clear ourselves about what we need in order to hold each other accountable, set targets, and be able to measure our progress towards these. So how would we define a sustainable blue economy? And how do we get there? Of course, to help answer these questions and to help set course with confidence that we are heading in the right direction, we, through a global process, have developed a set of principles for a sustainable blue economy. They start with the understanding that no economy can sustain itself when its natural resource base is systematically being degraded. The principles are intended to be universal, that is, they can be applied to any sea or coastal area by any actor, be it the global community, regional, national, or local governments, or the private or civil sector. In other words, here in the Baltic Sea region, they can apply to our blue economy or blue bioeconomy as a whole, and all the policy and decision processes that happen to be around it, and any blue sector. So what is our definition? It is in fact very simple. And I need to hurry. So I will not go into the definition. I think it's very straightforward, and I have some brochures here that I can share with each of you to articulate. But what it means in practice is that we need to look at the long-term economic and social performance, such as provision of jobs, but also health issues, recreational values, cultural values, now into the future. And of course, that this must be done through the basis of what the ecosystem can in fact sustain. It also needs to be done in a way, we have to look at the way we are governing the blue bioeconomy, the blue economy, or blue growth, and base this on a set of guiding principles, most of which we have long ago agreed to follow. The All Hands on Deck report has also done a SWOT analysis to examine exactly how sustainable and our progress today towards achieving a sustainable blue economy. And what we found is that, not surprisingly, the blue economy today in the Baltic Sea is not sustainable. We have a tremendous opportunity before us to make sure that we can reset the course and demonstrate in this region what is possible, how we can truly innovate using the limits of the Baltic ecosystem and the challenges we have to demonstrate new technologies, new approaches, new governance that can serve as an example for other reasons to model from. And given that I'm moving very low on time, I'm going to move a bit more quickly. As I said before, this also requires that we look at, we were talking about this just before the conference started, that an economy, a blue sustainable economy must draw upon the lessons that we already have from the economy, from the circular economy package which is being discussed today, because of course, particularly in this region, unless we do so, we will never be able to secure sustainability in water if we are not addressing issues on land. And we need all hands on deck. We need to adopt a common vision, goals and targets, transform these into concrete joint actions within and across different sectors and along the economic value chain. We need to develop or renew national integrated maritime policies. We need to review public and private financing and investment criteria. We need to apply ecosystem-based marine spatial planning, integrate the blue and green economic agendas, and we need active leadership in the public and private sectors. There's a tremendous amount of talk amongst the private sector. All of the right words are there. Everyone wants to take decisions to contribute to a healthy Baltic Sea. But what we need to see is real leadership, real demonstration, real investment that is backing up these front runners in order to drive further pathways for success. For once we are clear about what a sustainable blue economy can look like, we can then set clear goals and targets to align with this vision and make sure that we have a roadmap to follow that. This includes adequate rules and economic incentives. We need a level playing field. We need to ensure that the legislative framework is integrated. And we need to make sure that we, again, can harness the innovative potential that we know exists. So I apologize, I've been running long on time, but I would like to invite my colleague Matti to share some examples during the workshop, because I think we have a number of very concrete issues that are taking place in a variety of sectors, which we would be happy to share with you. The report talks about many of these, and I'm happy to come back.